Welcome to the May 5th, 2026 Clay County Planning Commission meeting. The meeting is now called to order. At this time, please put your cell phones on silent or vibrate. If you need to take a call during the meeting, please step outside. If you need to leave the meeting, please do so quietly. And gentlemen, would you please remove your covers if you're wearing one? That's a boardroom policy. Thank you, sirs. At this time, Commissioner Beret will lead us in the pledge.
Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My name is Pete Davis. I'm the chairman of the Clay County Planning Commission. Minutes of tonight's meeting will be taken by Christine Blanchette, recording secretary from the clerk of the court's office. Thank you, Ms. Blanchette, for being here. Other staff members, we have Beth Carson, who is the planning director. We have Dodie Seelig, who is our chief planner. Kelly Hendry, are you still here? I don't see Kelly. She's part of our economic development group. We also have Courtney Grimm, our county attorney, Jamie Hoveda, our assistant county attorney, and Caleb Reisinger, who is in real estate. Did I miss anybody? No, I don't think so. We also like to thank Deputies Bagley and Ash from the Clay County Sheriff's Office for providing security this evening. My fellow commissioners are, on my right is Vice Chairman Bo Norton, Commissioner Mary Bridgman, who's down here, and Commissioner Ralph Puckhaber. On my left is Commissioner Beret, and Commissioner Angelo will be here shortly, I've been told. Commissioner Garrison is not here tonight. The Clay County Planning Commission is a citizen advisory board to the Clay County Board of County Commissioners, or the BCC. All the planning commissioners are volunteers, residents of Clay County, appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. We serve 2-year terms, must reapply if we wish to continue to serve. The Commission's duties are outlined in Section 163.3174 of the Florida statutes. We have applications for comprehensive plan amendments, land development code changes, and rezonings. Most of the decisions are made by the Planning Commissions or recommendations to the BCC. BCC will have the final say at their meeting on either the second Tuesday, 1 week from today, or the fourth Tuesday, 3 weeks from today. The BCC meeting starts at 4 p.m. Zoning and land use matters start at 5 p.m. Please check the BCC agenda on the Clay County website. We also welcome the public to the Planning Commission meeting, as citizens' participation is the backbone of our republic form of government. Your presence here is important and appreciated. If there's an item on tonight's agenda you wish to speak about, or you want to talk about during the open comment period, please fill out one of the comment cards which are found in the entry vestibule. That's this little white card here. I might also note there's a space at the bottom. You can vote, but don't have to speak if you don't want to, or if you want to speak, you check that box if you want to share your opinions. Lost my place. There's a 3-minute time limit for each comment. Time is kept by the lights on the podium. The red light indicates the time is up. The first item by the commission tonight is approval of the minutes of the April 7th meeting of the Planning Commission. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So those opposed, same sign. The next item on the agenda is a public comment period. At this time, any member of the public may comment on items not included on tonight's agenda but pertinent to the business of the Planning Commission. I have one card. I'll open the public comment period. Mr. Knight. And please give us your address and tell us who you are.
Okay, my name is Eddie Knight. Live at 1394 Mahama Bluff Road in Green Cove Springs. I'm here to just express concerns about the new business in Clay County. It's proposed business establishment on 209, forgive me. Not used to going first here. No, I'll make it. All right, this is one of the oldest family and residential neighborhoods in Clay County, Bahama Bluff I'm talking about, that is going to be impacted by the ever-increasing development in our county. And we ask you please give it due respect in regard to any change or inclusion that will impact historical part of Clay County, which is all of it basically. I'm not trying to shut the door in any business. I just ask that you carefully acknowledge the significance of making the right decisions to sustain the history, longtime residents, and natural beauty and safety of this long-standing neighborhood, Bahama Bluff. I asked that the proposed business, they've got a site plan that looks very acceptable, and I just underlined that we would like to, for them to adhere strictly to that, and mainly keeping the north business approach on 209, which is the road that forks off and we turn on Bahama Bluff. He's got the entrance way on the north end of that road, which is good and will work out for us, and we just concerned that everything will be adhered to that the gentleman has proposed. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Is there anybody else that wants to share their opinions during this open comment period? Seeing none, I'll close the open comment period. I'm sorry? Okay. All right. The process for the scheduled part of the meeting, which is what we're getting ready to, will be each item on the public hearing agenda will be presented by a member of the planning staff and the zoning department. As part of the presentation, staff will indicate whether the recommend approval of the requested land use zoning or land development code. Next, the applicant will have an opportunity to speak. Following the applicant's presentation, I will open the floor for members of the public to offer their views. Your time is for stating your views, not for asking questions of the applicant, members of the staff, or the commissioners. Your comments are to be directed to the Planning Commission. If you wish to speak during this hearing, you will need to take the oath, which Ms. Blanchette will administer momentarily. If you're not sure whether you wish to speak, go ahead and take the oath. After staff, the applicant, and the public have had a chance to state their views, the floor will be closed for public comments, and the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to comments by the public. Then the commissioners will discuss the matter, if necessary, and render a decision. Again, I thank you and commend you for participating in this process. And before we start into this, Ms. Blanchette will swear in anybody that wishes to address the commission tonight. So those that wish to, would you please stand and move to the center so you can take the oath.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, before we get started, the agenda is, tonight is fluid. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. So we're going to change it up a little bit. The first item on the agenda will be item number 3 on the agenda, which is the turmeric, right?
4.
Actually, number 4.
We're doing number 4.
Oh, is it?
Because it's continued.
Okay, I didn't get the most recent change. All right, we're going to work the item number 4 on the agenda, which is the, yes, it's the turmeric. Am I right, Beth? No.
No, sir. I think what we were going to do is take the agenda items in the order they are, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to change it to 3, 4, 2, 1. So the first item would be public hearing to consider Comp 260002, which is an item that was continued to July 7th. There may be some people here that would like to speak on that.
Okay, so that's the
The PCN change,
that's number 4.
right.
Yeah.
That's the one they want to go for.
Okay.
We're going to put that first. first.
All right, item number 4, which I believe is, I have a lot of cards for this. This item is going to be, if the commission approves the continuation on it, will be continued until July the 7th. I do have cards. You can do one of 3 things. One, when I call you up, you can tell us share your thoughts about this agenda item at this meeting, or you can share your thoughts about this agenda item at this meeting and at the meeting on the 7th. Or if you want to, you can pass and show up on the 7th to share your thoughts. It's your call, and with that, now keep in mind, on August the 7th, we'll have a finalized application, correct? And so we'll all know where, yeah, on July the 7th. What did I say? Okay. So things might change considerably between now and then, but you're more than welcome to share your thoughts with us. So when I call your name, would you tell me if you wish to speak or whether you want to defer? Yeah, I might butcher your name. It looks like Allison, is it Brandlett? Yes, ma'am? Oh, would you come up to the podium, please? And please give us your name and your address.
My name is Allison Bramlett, and I live at 359 Lake Asbury Drive. So I was going to come speak last week, but I saw the request for a continuance, and now I see another one that is requesting that it's moved to the 7th. I'll be moving my daughter in to her, well, I'm sorry, not moving her in, but doing college freshman orientation stuff around that time. So I won't be able to speak then, so I thought I would come and speak today so that my statements could be, my opinions and statements could be on record. So there's a lot I could speak to, but mainly as a citizen that lives along Black Creek and whose family, my husband's family's lived there since the 80s. Hate to see any more of what makes Black Creek so beautiful and unique be destroyed. I'm sure you guys are familiar. I'm sure you gentlemen are familiar with Black Creek and what makes it so beautiful and the fact that it draws a lot of people to this area. So my property is located on Black Creek, directly adjacent to the North Lake in the Lake Asbury neighborhood. It's also directly across from the property that was purchased by the North Florida Land Trust that they have acquired and claimed that they're going to maintain the property as a large piece of land that's going to remain untouched by developers for many years to come. Increasingly lately, though, my faith in that claim has grown a little bit more skeptical just because it kind of seems like we're always here trying to fight somebody else from tearing down trees and filling in wetlands. A lot of times we are told, and understandably, that these comprehensive plans have been in place for years, and the zoning's, the commissioner's hands are tied, and there's nothing they can do. Luckily, in this situation, this property is not even zoned for that yet. It's zoned conservation. Am I allowed to ask? Are you all even aware of what this is?
Are we aware of it?
Yes, because, sorry, I went back to the website for the Clay County, and all the attachments, everything's been withdrawn. So I didn't know if you guys were familiar with what is even going on. But either way, it's 50 acres of primary conservation network, and they're trying to say that when it was originally zoned that it was a bunch of wetlands, and now it's mostly uplands. They're saying it was improperly zoned. I disagree. I think uplands are just as important as wetlands for the aquifers and keeping everything clean. I'm gonna try to go through this quickly because I know I'm running out of time, but I just don't see that we need any more of these 50-foot lots. I don't think, it's gonna be very beneficial to have all that area that's right along Black Creek and across from a lot of people that I know that live on Black Creek. And I know that we all live on Black Creek, but, we bought houses that were already there. They're acre lots, they're treed, they're all individual houses. They aren't these houses that you see thrown up all over the county all right, sorry. I have more to say, but there's a really great letter that was submitted to the commissioners on behalf of this from another lady. I don't know if it's on there, but.
Hang on a second. Would you like to have that letter in the record?
The one that was submitted to the commissioners?
Yes.
I didn't submit it, it was another lady, but I printed it from the emails.
Okay.
It's very it was submitted public record to the attachments that were accompanying the comprehensive plan, but like I said, everything's been removed. I don't know why. There's no documents associated with that plan now anymore, but it
Okay.
was on there.
The question still stands. Do you want that in the record?
Yes, yes, I would love for
Okay.
this to be in the record. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Tracy Daniel? Okay. Brittany Sands Cree?
Hi there, I'm Brittany Sands Cree. I reside at 2019 Cornell Road on Black Creek. I've grown up my entire life on Black Creek. My parents bought in Lake Asbury on Hope Hole Court in 1980, and the home they reside in now on the dam in Lake Asbury, 311 Lake Asbury Drive. In 2017, I was able to, or 2015, I was finally able to purchase my own home on Black Creek, which is directly adjacent from this property that is trying to be zoned now for a huge development. When I bought my home, I was told that it would never flood. And if it did flood, Jacksonville would be underwater, okay? I've lived on this river, I've seen its beauty, but I've also seen its rage and its fury. It floods. I think sometimes we forget that. In 2017, Irma hit, and that water came up faster than we ever knew. We were stuck for days. I lived in my garage for 5 days. I'm 30 feet up. I was told I would never flood. I have pictures to show you what that property looks like. Docks were under, homes were under. We're still trying to recover. Every home that needs to be rebuilt on the creek has to rise. These homes will be the cookie cutter homes in a neighborhood. It's gonna happen again. You can say that Irma was, you know, a perfect storm, but next time it won't only be nature, it'll be man-made. We have not had a storm this big since, you know, all this development has happened. All the trees are cut down, all the water oaks, everything that helps us and relieves us. It's all gonna be coming to the creek. So please do what's right. You have a chance to stop this development. You know, conserve land, help it stay the beautiful creek that it is so our children can continue to play in it. It's gonna, you know, cause more flooding, it's gonna cause erosion, and, you know, who's gonna be here to bail all those people out when, you know, their homes flood in this new development? Thank you. Oh, I have pictures also of, you know, what it looks like on a given day and what it looks like in a flood, if y'all wanna add that to public or to the folder. They're not great pictures, sorry, my printer was not very good. So that's what it looks like on a given day, and then that's showing some pictures from Irma when it was going. What do you mean? Oh, yeah, take them. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Aaron Sawyer? Is it Sawyer or Sayer?
Hi, Erin Sayer, 2100 Spinnaker Court. I spoke at last month's Planning Commission meeting where I shared some concerns about this request to rezone and amend the land use of 46 acres of primary conservation network on Black Creek. I also spoke at the BCC meeting last week, and I just want you to know I've committed to showing up and speaking out on this item anytime I see it mentioned on the agenda. I'm not here tonight to recap all of my concerns. I think Allison and Brittany did a good job of that, and I'll save that for another time. But I would just encourage all of you, if you're not already familiar with this item, please take the time to review it ahead of the meeting where it ultimately takes place, or where it comes before you. At this point, the applicant's now requested multiple continuances. Feels like an attempt to waste some time until public interest fades, but I can assure you that will not happen. I just want to be very clear about that. If anything, we will just gain momentum in our efforts to stop this in its tracks, excuse me. So I appreciate your time. I'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Susan Youngblood.
My name is Susan Youngblood. I live at 4175 Water Lily Court in Black Creek Park. Back in 1984, we built our home on Hill Road in Middleburg, right just off of Main Street. We lived there for 28 years before we had the first flood in 2012. It brought water. Probably our water level was at least a foot in the house, about 3 foot outside of the house because it was a 2-story house. The next big flood was in 2017, and that was Irma. We had a 2-story home, and water was 4 inches from the top floor. And the reason that these floods have happened is because commissioners let overbuilding on Black Creek, and there's nowhere else for the water to go now except into people's yards and into their homes. I couldn't face another flood because it was so traumatic, and the cleanup was such a major happening. We ended up selling our house to the U.S. government. FEMA had offered to buy houses that had flooded twice, at least twice. We did sell to them. They tore, excuse me, they tore the house that my husband and I built down. It is now just an empty lot on Hill Road. Every single house on Hill Road and around Forest, where it goes around the creek, flooded. Every single home, either up to the ceiling or in our case, just a few inches below the second floor. It's a conservation area. Keep it at that. Do not let contractors come in and add to the problems that already exist along Black Creek with the overbuilding that has been allowed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Youngblood. I don't have any other cards. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Would you fill out a card too, please?
I will fill one out, thank you. My name is Helena Cormier. My address is 2839 Woodbridge Crossing Court, Green Cove Springs, Florida, 32043. Thank you again for everything that y'all are doing. We know that there is a lot on your plate with this one. I am learning more and more from RCDD and having the wetland mitigation and having the upland mitigation and the different credits that are being sold in communities that have conservation land in them. I'm still new at this on understanding, and so the depth is not there like I would love to learn more. But when these developers and when people sell this land and when they get the mitigation credits and when they make the money when that happens so that another area can build and the things that go on, once they've already gotten that money, it doesn't make sense to allow them to then go back and either pull it back out of that conservation or pay to get it back out or do the different things that keeps happening. And so again, I'm still learning. I'm researching. I'm trying to figure out and I'm trying to learn more. But one of the things that I have learned in coming to these meetings, y'all don't have to continue this one. You can deny the continuation and it stops for now and they get to restart. The vote is here. You've heard the outcry from the community, and this one is a very sensitive one because of the conservation land. And so let them start all over if they need to. Thank you for everything you do, and I know y'all are praying about everything that y'all do in this county, and so are our commissioners, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do I have any others that wish to speak on this item? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is David Huff. I live at 3810 Calvary Court in Middleburg in Fox Meadow. Just to let you know, the impetus within Fox Meadow community is huge. We had a petition that'll be delivered next week to the commissioners meeting with quite a few of the folks there. The loss of conservancy and areas of wildlife within Clay County is getting really, really bad. We have a problem with drainage. We're connected to Black Creek, and we can see the writing on the wall right now. This is a bad, bad choice. This area has been a conservancy area for many, many years. And now to have a developer come in just for making money to change it and lose all this area for our wildlife and the damage it will do to Black Creek and the tributaries of Black Creek will be one that can't be undone. So I really pray that you all take a look at this, and I agree with the last speaker. You can end this now by not doing the continuation. But I can tell you, from our standpoint, we will get more and more folks and come in against this. So if that's how you want to take it, we will, go in with everything we've got to keep this from happening. So I really pray that you stop it now and do what you can to prevent the destruction of our county. Thank you.
Did you fill out a card?
I will fill one out. I have one.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to is the applicant here? He's not.
Yes, he's in the back.
Okay. Do you want to put in a request for a continuance, or is that something we're just going to assume?
The applicant has requested to continue the item, so that's the
Okay.
request to you.
Mr. Davis, I got a question for staff, if I could.
Okay.
I have a question for staff. I don't know who, but in our agenda, it says staff request this item be continued. Is that an actual staff request, or did that actually come from the applicant? And
it's actually both. The applicant resolved some issues, and it was right before our deadline to try to get the items to the Planning Commission. So we wouldn't have staff time to provide the turnaround time that we needed to get it to this meeting tonight. So we talked to the applicant about June. June, they have staffing issues and commitments for June, so they can't make the June meeting. Therefore, they've asked to move it to the July meeting. So they did send me an email, excuse me, specifically requesting the July date for both the Planning Commission and the board. They would have liked to have been here tonight. That is more on staff than them, that they're not able to be here.
Okay. Did you want to say anything? Okay. All right. So we need a motion as to what we're going to do with this.
I'll make a motion for the continuance. I believe the applicant has the right to make his case, just like the public has a right to make their case, and we need to hear both sides. So I'll move approval of the continuance.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
just one item. Hopefully we'll hear, when was the first month this was on the agenda? Was it last month?
Yes.
Okay. So July would be month 4. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Any
Question.
Yes, sir.
Just a question for the board here. If this motion does not pass, then what?
It goes to, the recommendation goes to the Board of County Commissioners, so they have the final decision.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But what they decide, I'm not sure. If they say, no, we're not gonna have the continuation, is what happens then? Legal? But if we decline the continuation, it doesn't stop anything, right?
You have to take a vote. You have to hear it, you have to take a vote.
My fear is that,
Does this process start all over?
Thinking through it, I don't think that you, from a due process standpoint, can deny the applicant hearing their, application, right? I mean, you can't just deny without have hearding it. So they'll have the right to come back. How we process that, I'm not sure. But, you know, they haven't even been here to have it heard.
gotcha.
I'll just,
Okay.
if I could, Mr. Chair, I'll just reiterate, to me, it's very un-American if we're not going to allow both parties to present their case and then be heard in the public forum, and then we make a decision based on that. I think anything other than that, I would have a very strong concern about.
Well, my feelings about it is this, and that is not allowing continuation is only going to let this issue fester. I'd assume that we allow the continuation, let's move forward to the process, and then ultimately get this issue put to bed. Hopefully in the 7th of July. So with that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, this item will be continued until July the 7th.
And please, make sure everybody comes back for that meeting, please.
Fill the room.
It,
Fine. That's perfectly fine. We have no problem with you bringing, just leave your torches at the door. We understand that, and I'm not trying to make light of this. This is an important issue to you all, and we understand that. Okay. Are we ready to move on to the, y'all can stick around for the meeting if you wish, or that's your call. Next item on the agenda is public hearing on 250009. Am I correct?
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item was heard by the Planning Commission, or came up on the February 3rd Planning Commission meeting and was continued at that time to meet with the community and develop some different solutions to the request. This item will go to the Board of County Commissioners next Tuesday. The applicant is Shandeep Singh. The agent is Kelly Hartwig, who is here to present on this. The location is 3075 Highway 17, which is US 17 at County Road 209. This is in the Springs Planning District, which is Commissioner Burke's District 5. The application would change the zoning designation of 2.45 acres from commercial recreation, which is BB5, to planned commercial PCD. This is the public notification map on the left and some of the zoning signs. They were changed to have today's date, next week's date. The map on the left shows you the corridor. The red is the commercial corridor that runs along 17. The yellow and the brown are both residential. So it's commercial at the front and then residential behind. The map on the right is the existing zoning. The dark gray is the BB5. Some background, the subject parcel contains a former convenience store which has been redeveloped as a restaurant. The property was rezoned to BB5 back in '23 so that the restaurant could sell alcoholic beverages. So the PCD has been amended, and I apologize, you did not have your staff report in your backup material, but you've been provided a copy of the staff report. The applicant has amended the list of permitted uses. They had changed it from a much longer list to this abbreviated list, which has smaller scale uses like commercial retail business, shipping offices, beauty salons, bakeries. They also want to have professional offices. They want to continue with the restaurant, contractors' offices. They would like to have potentially indoor gaming rooms, banking facility, drive-through coffee facility, liquor package store, medical spa. The conditional uses that they would like to continue with would be a service station with sale of gasoline and retail petroleum products, and the potential for a medical marijuana treatment facility. The uses that would not be permitted would be the adult entertainment and sexually oriented businesses or obnoxious or corrosive or offensive businesses. Those are off the list. They would not be permitted at all. They've provided some minimum design guidelines. The one that is highlighted, the maximum height of structures, the applicant will address that. That's something that needs to be corrected. The maximum floor area ratio would be 40%. The written narrative addresses the additional landscaping that's been proposed and provides lighting standards to avoid light trespass, which that was a concern. And buffer locations are shown on the site plan. This is the proposed site plan. North would be 17 is to the left, and the major entrance would be off of 17. They are proposing an entrance, secondary entrance off of 209 and one off Mahama Bluff as secondary. And they have reduced the number of buildings. I think they had 5 the last time. They've reduced it down to 4. The upper building would be the drive-through coffee. That's the northern part. The middle building has retail office in that. The restaurant is the next one down, and then the last building would also be retail office. They've included buffers around the perimeter, and on the left are the details of what those buffers would be. So the Springs CAC voted 6-0 to recommend approval of this rezoning on January 14th. That vote was based on the prior site plan, which had more buildings and less buffers, and had the long list of uses that you commented on, and that has been revised. This revised site plan and written narrative provide a reduced list of permitted uses, a reduced number of buildings, and additional buffering. We're not viewed by the CAC as it is less intensive and a better outcome than the prior plan. Based on the criteria in the staff report and the revised narrative and site plan provided by the applicant, staff recommends approval of PUD 250009. And the applicant Kelly Hart, or the agent Kelly Hartwig, is here if you have questions.
Any questions of staff?
I'll put the site plan back up.
Okay, I have one question. When the state gets through with 17, the access on 17 will become a right-in, right-out only, is that correct?
I believe that's the case, and I'm sorry our county engineer is not here tonight, but I believe
Okay.
that's the case.
Can you go back to that diagram, please?
Up there.
It's up there. It's not showing in front of you, sorry.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, so I'm just looking to see.
May I ask a question? Sure. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This isn't a land use or zoning question. This is just a general question. Is the access off of 209, is that a requirement? Or
It
is
is-
it a minimum of 2?
It is not a requirement. It's, I believe it's desired of the applicant.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions of staff?
Mr. Chair, I may have some, but I'd like to wait to hear from the applicant.
Okay.
I had one other, I'm sorry. I apologize, Beth. We reduced the applicant reduced the number of buildings, but what was the reduction in square footage of the buildings? Do we know what that number is?
I don't know that offhand, but I'm sure the applicant can.
Okay, all right, thank you, thank you.
Okay, is the applicant here?
Kelly Hartwig, 3420 Wall Road, I'm the agent. So to answer your things, we tried to take into account everything that you requested. at our first presentation and really tried to listen to the neighbors, which is why we went back and spent a huge amount of time on the site plan. This is the site plan we're planning on building by. It would not change, it wouldn't alter. The 209 entrance you brought up, bearing in mind, the only way, if you're traveling south on 17, you'll have to turn left on 209. It's the only way you can get to this neighborhood. You can no longer turn at the intersection because that's being closed by the DOT. So there's no way for the traffic that's coming from over by the racetrack, they can no longer go across. That's all being closed. So the only way, if you're headed north, you want to turn left, you're going to turn left at that 209. This was what was recommended by us, and then we went back with the your traffic person. He asked us to put that decel lane in and keep it as far to the north because that's directly across from a crab distribution facility, so it's in the best place for it. This also gives people that are coming on 209, they can turn left without, or turn right into our site without having to circle the block and then come up Bahama Bluff to get in. The reason we have the entrance on Bahama Bluff is for a similar reason. People leaving this site, if they want to go south, that's where the light's going to be. You'll have to go out to Bahama Bluff, go up Bahama Bluff, and turn left on 17 at the light. The entrance on 17 will be right turn in and right turn out only. That's the only way we can do it with the DOT. We reduced the number of buildings and the square footage to balance the parking so that the parking meets the county code. That's why it's balanced out so that we're actually meeting the code. We're not asking for any variances or anything like that. The restrictions we put in the PID were for the lighting. Spent a lot of time on the lighting for you. And I spent a lot of time on the uses to try to keep them down so we can get rid of some of what I thought were the obnoxious things like outdoor storage and go-kart tracks and things like that, amusement things that were in the original. This restricts it to indoor facilities, no outside storage. The only time they can put things outside is if they're doing like a retail sign or something like that out on their sidewalks and they have to take it in at night. So we restricted all of that. I increased the landscape buffer along the residential side. I increased the size of the trees, the density of it. It's 15 feet wide and has a fence so that we could modulate those things. We shifted it down to put all of the retention ponds under the parking lots. That's the only way we can meet the criteria of all of the codes and what you asked for. The only restriction, and the reason it does say on the height restriction per the Clay County, there is no height restriction in Clay County. On the drawing, it says 3-story. That's all we would recommend is that change and say maximum of 3 stories. It's just to clean it up so that it matches the site plan because Clay County's height is based on fire code more than anything. You can put 5-story building if you want. We want to make sure the neighbors know, never be over a 3-story building, and the top 2 floors are office. So those were the recommendations. We tried to take everything into account, make it more restrictive, and provide you a better site plan. I'll take any questions yet.
Questions of the applicant?
Where's the height restriction in the written description?
Let's see. It's on, design guidelines. It's under item 3, number 7.
Did that change in the ordinance?
And it was just a mistake we put in there and then obviously staff and I just knew I wanted to clean it up so that it was nice and clear for the neighbors.
In the ordinance, it still says maximum height of structures per city of Clay County Land Development Code.
That's what we're talking about, needs to change.
Okay. Well, I have some other questions about the written description, but I think I need to wait, Pete, until we had the public hearing.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir. With that, I'll open the public hearing. I don't have any cards on this. Mr. Knight already spoke to this issue. If there's anything he would like additional to share, I would If not,
Hi, my name is Helena Cormier, address on file. I just wanted to say thank you to the developer for being able, or the person that was just standing up here, being able to make all the changes that have been requested and trying to make it look decent for the community. As I was looking at the usage, I realized that it was already approved for alcohol to be in there. I would be concerned about still having that conditional usage with the medical marijuana and the alcohol all on the same premises. But I'm not sure what can be done, if that can be a recommendation of not doing that conditional use, as they're trying to make a nice product and trying to make something that looks great for the community. We also want to be mindful of the risks when you start putting the two of those together. And so, just my personal observation on this one. Thank you.
Mr. Knight?
Thank you again. What we have a question for the applicant, as to,
I'm sorry, Mr. Knight, that's inappropriate at this meeting.
I'm sorry. What did I do wrong?
You can ask staff
okay,
or
can
whatever
I-
after the meeting, but this is not a venue for interchange between
Okay.
the public and the applicant. I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question of the commissioners then?
You can, but I'm not guaranteeing an answer.
Okay, yeah, I respect that, in all respect.
Sure.
But I don't know what the requirements for a fence is. It's a little bit vague on the plans, but as a residential area, for example, up off 220, I don't know the name of the development, but it's right off this big, nice brick wall. Don't expect that, but we would like a lot of consideration, as to what that wall is going to be made of, for the protection of us.
Maybe after the meeting, you can ask the applicant before he leaves the building. He can give you more specifics as far as what's going to be made of. He's been pretty specific as far as increasing the density of the buffering on Mahama Road.
Appreciate that.
And such as that.
Okay, I'll talk to him.
Okay.
But yes, we're very concerned about, what kind of fence and what kind of protection we're going to have on that. And whatever, the board considers or doesn't consider, approval or not approval, we appreciate that.
I understand, Mr. Knight. Thank you. Are there any others that would like to speak on this agenda item? Yes, ma'am. Did you have a card? Okay, thank you.
My name's Joan Baisley. I live at 3144 Baisley Road, Green Cove Springs. I'm concerned about the development. And we've all faced the issue, which you have no control over, of the highway and the traffic light and all that. But my concern now is, until DOT is finished with the highway and we see where the traffic light is going to be and how things are going to be moving, it's such a dangerous situation right now. And until that is done, the applicant is faced with the situation. He may be putting in entrance on 209 or Mahama Bluff, and that might not work so well. And I think that it ought to be slowed down, and until we see what DOT actually puts on the ground. And none of us have any control over that. So the other point, which Mr. Knight was suggesting, is vegetation in the buffer dies. It needs maintenance, and which can be done and not be done. But he recommended or made a mention of perhaps a wall of some sort. I noticed, as a comparison, if you go in Green Cove Springs, there's the Spring Church and School. And if you go to the street on the back, I think the people did it on their own, but they ended up putting a wall. So the people that were on the opposite side when cars pull in and traffic is coming in and out with lights, it's not shining into their windows. And it also buffers the sound. And I think that might be something that, I don't, whether you can add that, they put that as a recommendation, as something more substantial, a 5-foot, 6-foot wall would be, I think, very helpful. But I do think we ought to slow down until DOT has their opportunity of finishing that intersection. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Are there any others that would like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and would the applicant come back to the podium and respond to any of the questions that might have been thrown your way?
I will definitely meet with them and get the owner, and we'll meet with them and talk to them about the type of construction.
Can you lift the mic up? You're
We
a
will
pretty tall
definitely
guy.
meet with Mr. Knight and them and talk about different techniques of how to build the fence. I have no problems with that. We might be able to add some columns and then it's 100% opaque. It will not be a wood fence, you know, it's not gonna be those types of fences. We can come up with some terminology. That's what they prefer, that they would like. DOT, the plans are out. They're not gonna change the plans. We know exactly where the lights are going, so there's not much I can think. So this is the best plan that I've ever come up with for a strange piece of property, in all honesty.
If I could, Mr. Chair, I'd like to piggyback on that question. So I appreciate that you're going to meet with the community and have a conversation, but this is public record, and so before this gets approved, I'd like to know what is your intention right now as far as the buffering. We can get staff to clarify what the requirements are, but I'm curious as the applicant, what are you going to install as far as the buffer?
If you look at the plan it says buffer A, B, and C, I labeled every one of them. And what I did was intensified the buffer on the neighbor's side, on the 209 side where there's not the crab or the bail bondsman. Those are the little lighter. We put basically a 15-foot green space. We have a 3-foot, 4-foot, a 3-foot hedge at the start of construction, a 6-foot fence behind it, and I think the trees are 20 foot on center. It's also written in the written part. They also require, I think the county is we got 4-inch trees, and they're called for medium evergreens. So they're gonna be evergreen trees, and it can't be crepe myrtles and things in this sense. So that you get that dense buffer. That was the whole point of trying to do that.
So it'll be a 6-foot fence plus all the green space?
Plus all the green space.
Okay, I just need to clarify that.
I put a green hedge on the other side of it, on the parking lot side, so that it's not just butt up against the parking lot.
Okay, all right,
So
thank you.
that's on the buffer. Where I can put oak trees, I'll put the oak trees, live oak trees.
All right, thank you, sir.
I have a series of questions.
Boy.
And I want to start with the premise that I like the site plan. I think there's been a lot of effort into it, but we're actually voting on the ordinance. And the ordinance incorporates this Exhibit D, and I don't know if you guys took time to read it carefully, but I'm going to read part of it because I think it's very poorly written, no offense, but there's too much wiggle room in here. I don't have any line numbers. But for example, second paragraph, it says the owner will be restrictive in the types of businesses allowed. That's just a statement. It doesn't need to be in there. Attached master plan is provided, comma, final engineering, but will meet Clay County Land Development Code per PCD requirements. What does that mean? Can someone interpret that for me? I don't know what that means. And this is going to be part of the ordinance. We talked about the entrances already. Outside storage, this might be a question to Beth. Is retail display defined in our code clearly? This says limited to retail display. Is that an enforceable description?
I don't think it's clear.
I mean, it could be, I'm a retailer, I could put anything out front and say, well, this is my retail display, right? We don't have that in our code where we define what that is. So you've got undefined terms in here. and near the bottom of the first page, the creation of the master plan development affords an efficient use of the land, true statement. Each expansion of the site will require submittal of an individual site plan for county approval. We're supposed to be approving the site plan. What expansion of this? Now, if we're talking about phases of the building, it should say each phase. But this says the site plan. That means that gives them wiggle room to change that. Not only that, this is called Exhibit D, down here, Exhibit D. Turn the page, it suddenly becomes Exhibit 2, the same document. When you get into A, B, C, D, quantitative data summary, item 2, proposed number of buildings on the site may vary. Vary from what? You got a site plan, how are they gonna vary? Total amount of parking, and this is probably a staff question. This is how it reads. Parking shall be consistent with the requirements of Article 8 of the Land Development Code 8-2. What is 8-12? What is that? What is 8-12?
It's the parking section of.
Is that the section of that? Okay. With the parking, and question to you, Beth, we talked about this last time. With the uses that are here, there was some expectation of shared parking, day, night. But again, I'm going to point this out. Nowhere in here does it say what that ratio of day-night uses are going to be. You could go in and put 100% restaurants in here and you don't have enough parking. Because the assumption is some of that parking is going to be used at night, some of it's going to be used during the day. So that's a problem, I think, for the parking. I think you get the wrong mix of buildings in here. And I know that the owner and the developer are going to say, well, we'll take care of that. It's in the ordinance. If it's not in the ordinance, they could lease every building they've got to restaurants, which actually might not be a bad idea. They just don't have enough parking for that. So in item 6, it says each phase will be submitted to Clay County for approval. I assume they mean to the design review people. Again, not sure where in Clay County they're doing that. Then we got the list of uses, restricted uses, design guidelines. It's got future principal structures, minimum lot requirements and building requirements shall be in accordance with the requirements provided herein. Well, you got a site plan, then we've got 0 lot areas, we got maximum lot coverage, we got front yard minimums. I don't even know why this is in here if you've got a site plan that details all that already. We already asked about the height code. We know that needs to be put in here, 35 feet or whatever that number is that we like to use. Under B, that's more about County Road 209, which we talked about. In C, I already mentioned the parking issue. Again, here comes retail displays only in section C, item 4A. It's not defined. Building signage will be in accordance with land development regulations by Clay County, Florida. But then they specify what the signs are, square footage and all. It's either specify what the signs are for or say we're going to follow the sign code for some other zoning in the county. I will say I appreciate the fact there's a section in here on site lighting. However, and I think this has gone too far. Section F, it says site lighting shall be designed to limit site lighting to 0-foot candles at any property line which borders a residential area. I don't even think that's possible. I don't even think that's possible. I mean, that's pitch black. So that's not, and remember, all of this wording is in the ordinance. And then in item I, site plan modifications, the site plan, Exhibit A, which we have, it's, will be approved as part of the PCD, and then it says deviations from the ordinance creating the PCD may be approved by the Planning and Zoning Board. That's kind of true, but not completely. If they want to change this plan, they got to come back and do a re-PCD, and we can recommend, but the BCC ultimately is going to have to approve that. This reads like we're going to get to have that final say. I'm a little concerned about that definition too, but substantial compliance, we always see that. So I guess my point with this is I don't think it's a bad plan. I think it's a poorly executed plan that needs to go back and be rewritten so that the ordinance actually says what we've been hearing, and I don't think it does. And unless anybody has any comments for that, I'm kind of done. But I can't support this ordinance, not the way it's written. This needs to be rewritten to clarify a lot of stuff.
Any other comments?
So you recommending that staff, just go back to staff and have it rewritten?
No, I'm going to vote no on this because this comes to the BCC in a week. And number two, staff didn't write this, the applicant did. They merely incorporated this word for word into the ordinance. But the ordinance is the legal document that's going to get passed. And then all this sloppy work that's in this exhibit ends up in our ordinance. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think there's time in a week to redo this.
Okay, let me put this out there. If this is a valid concern, and it appears as such because the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, then there's a couple of things we can do. One is we can recommend denial to the board, and then it goes back, and whatever they say, we'll go from there. Or we could recommend a continuation until such time that the applicant cleans up this mess in order to make the ordinance be more in line with what is to be built and when and how on the site. Comments?
If I may, Mr. Chair. So first off, I applaud Commissioner Puckhaber for digging into the weeds and making sure the commission's fully briefed on it. I want to just start by saying that, you know, we support commercial construction or jobs, commercial development in this county where it's appropriate, because we want jobs in this county. We don't want to be a bedroom community for other surrounding counties. We want folks to live, work, and play here in Clay County. That being said, I think this is a great plan. I heard the constituents' concerns, and it appears that those concerns have been addressed in the refabrication of this concept. With that being said, with the errors that are presented, not the plan, I think the plan is a good plan, but I think Commissioner Puckhaber makes a very valid point, and that is that we need to get this cleaned up before. And for that reason, I would suggest a continuance. I would be in favor of a continuance and allow the applicant to go back and get this right before we take it to a vote, rather than denial and then they have to go through the whole process again, which is more time on staff and more time on the applicant, plus more money. So that would be my suggestion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I want to echo what Mr. Beret said. I don't think it's a bad plan. As I said, I think it's poorly executed. That's all. I mean, the overall plan looks good, but it needs to be cleaner than this.
I like the plan, but we're getting ready to make a decision based on a total package product, and we don't have that. We have a good plan, and I think the residents are not up in arms about it, especially if the people on Mahama Road are satisfied that their rights in their neighborhood is gonna be protected. But we can't pass this on to the board in its current condition. Now, I guess I need to ask the applicant, are you amenable to a continuation so that this can be brought into alignment with the plan? I don't want to put any more administrative burden on you, but we can have some of A or some of B or some of C, which is nothing.
I understand. Kelly Hartwig, again, 3420. I'll accept doing the continuance because I do want to make him happy, Mr. Bruckmeyer. But I do want a couple of things from Mr. Bruckmeyer, and I'll rewrite it anyway because I think site plan submittals. Every time a tenant comes in and wants to move into this building, they have to come to the county and they have to submit a site plan that shows where they're going, and that has to justify the parking. So if we brought in a third restaurant, let's just say, or second restaurant, and we don't have enough parking to justify it, that's why you have to go back to the county every time with a site plan for every tenant to prove that you have enough parking for those particular mix of tenants. It's not done at this stage. However, there is a parking calculation on that map that shows exactly how many square footage of retail, commercial, and how the parking was calculated. And that's normally what you do is set that up. That gives staff a guideline. Okay, so you had so much retail, so much office, this is how they calculate it. But even with that, if I was to lock that in, every time I go to get a tenant or things, I have to prove that I have the right amount of parking. So it's usually, I will do it, I will put it in here somehow to clean it up for you. And you're right, the phasing is what we're talking about coming back for the engineering. It's purely for the phasing. That plan won't change, and I can change that. And I'll describe the display retail, and I'll do something for the neighbors for the fence and bring it before you next month. Would that work for you?
Yes, it works fine. Like I said, I don't think we dislike the plan. I don't think the neighbors dislike it. I think it just needs to be cleaned up before we put it into our ordinance.
Okay.
Beth, question for you. Is that correct, what he said about parking? Every time a business wants to locate, they have to come and
That's correct. It's a change of occupancy. Yeah,
every change of occupancy
it does. It gets reviewed.
or initial occupancy?
Change of occupancy.
But the initial occupancy is also considered a change?
The initial occupancy, whenever they come in with the building that they're going to propose, we would look at it to make sure that the intended use is going to meet the requirements. And then as each one changes out, if it's a retail strip center that's got multiple, suites, we would look at each one to make sure that there was adequate parking.
Okay,
It's called the change of occupancy
okay.
application.
So apparently that is actually taken care of.
But I'll rewrite it so it makes it clearer for you. Yeah. One other thing, and this is just for education, I don't want to bother all these people. I do a lot of lighting. I mean, very large scale. There's a big difference between foot candles at the property line. That is usually what you see in everybody's code, is what we determine when we look at lights, we look at the photometrics of lights, and foot candles are things. Then there's a thing called light glare. Think about when you're driving down the road and you look off in the distance and you see a stadium and you see the lights. The foot candles is not affecting where you are, but you can still see the light. What you're actually looking at is the light reflecting off of dust and particles in the air. Nobody can get that down to zero. Do you understand? So there will be, I'm not saying when the lights are on, if you're back there on Mahama Bluff, you will probably see some things, but it's not going to affect the lighting on your property. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. With that being said, anybody else have anything else to say? All right. First off, I'd like to thank Commissioner Puckhaber for bringing this to light. And with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I move the continuance to next month. I don't know the date. Anybody know the date? Second?
To the June meeting.
The second of June? Okay. It's the 2nd of June or as soon thereafter as it can be heard.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. With that, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is
First, number 1.
the top one. Okay, public hearing, consider 260003 and PUD 260001. Am I correct?
That's correct, yes. And these items will be going before the Board of County Commissioners next week at their meeting. The applicant for these items is D. Anderson Development, the agent Colin Groff, Black Creek Engineering. The location of the properties are SR 21, landing down there between Treat Road and Gasline Road down towards Keystone Heights. The planning district is Middleburg Clay Hill District, and it is in Commissioner Condon's district, Commissioner District 4. There are 2 parcels involved. One parcel is strictly the land use, and then both parcels are involved with the land use and zoning. So Comp 26-3 would change the future land use designation of 14 acres of parcel 001-047-000-00 from ag residential AR to commercial. And then PUD 260001 would change the zoning of the entire acreage, 60.49 acres, from commercial and professional office BA2 and rural estates AR2 to planned commercial development PCD. The map on the left is the notification map, and I used the notification map for the PCD because it was encompassing all 60 acres. The list on the right are the people that were contacted. The signs are shown below. The map on the left is the location map for just the comp plan amendment. It is just those 2 little triangles that are shown in purple. And the aerial is on the right. This is the back part of the parcel. The map on the left is your existing land use map. You see the hatched area, that's the subject parcel of the site. You see it is behind the strip of commercial that runs along Blanding. And you'll see some open areas, looks like streets that are shown in that red area. That is being vacated. That is also a process that is going on through the board at the meeting next week. The map on the right is the proposed land use for those 2 little triangle pieces. They would be going to commercial. This is just to give you a broader look of the location. It's right there south of Camp Blanding. This is in just one kind of commercial node. You don't have really anything else other than down towards Keystone Heights. But if you look and see, the parcel sizes are quite small for most of the other sites. The map on the left is the existing zoning. You see it is AR2. Actually says AR on the map. That's incorrect. It should be AR2. The map on the right is the proposed zoning for the entire parcel to go to PCD. The intent was to have the uses that are across Blanding, which is BB zoning. You can no longer zone to BB. So the intent was to pick up some of those uses to create the node of similar type commercial. However, the applicant has kind of honed down the list a little bit. So appliance sales and service, automotive parts, business machine sales, department store, grocery store, drug store, heating, ventilation, AC, contractor offices, medical supply, automobile, body shop, sorry, typo there, tire sales and service, lawnmower and outboard rentals, feed, hay, fertilizer, well drilling, etc. Conditional uses would be communication antennas and communication towers and recreational vehicle and boat storage. That is it. The PCD features a 40-foot natural buffer with 6-foot high opaque barrier, fence, or vegetation where it is adjacent to residential. It has specific light standards to control light trespass, has sign standards, common stormwater for the entire development, and it would ultimately end up being 6 lots ranging in size from 8 to 12 acres, each with a 40% floor area ratio, which is pretty low. That means there's going to be a great deal of open space, parking, mostly parking lot, I'm sure, but you won't be solid buildings over the entire parcel. This is the site plan. These are the 6 lots that are proposed. And in the middle, there is a utility corridor that kind of cuts between those 2 ponds. You can see that. There will be 2 entrances and a connecting road serving the area. And as each parcel comes in to be reviewed, it would go through our DRC and our whole review process. And each one would have to meet the landscape code, as well as the buffer and anything that's, required on this, parking, etc. So there's 2 items here with the comp plan, 2603. Staff finds that the criteria for the comp plan amendment have been met and recommends approval of comp 2603. And zoning 2601, staff finds that the criteria for the rezoning have been met as well and recommends approval of that item. Do you have any questions?
I just have one. Can you go back to the land use map? That one.
That one?
Yeah, that'll do. So all of this is one parcel right now. Is this where we, at some point, we drew a line and cut a parcel in half, made half of it commercial?
It's actually 2 parcels.
Well, the little piece that's part of the part we're asking about, is that a separate parcel from the?
Okay, so this is 1 parcel and this whole thing is 1 parcel, and then this piece is a parcel.
Okay, I think that's what I was asking.
And it's part of a platted subdivision already, which,
Because, if you look at the very bottom edge of that red area in the upper left, it looks like commercial actually goes into that residential lot that's there as well. They got a little chunk.
it does, but that's not,
It's not part of this, right? Okay, that was my only question.
That's what happened when you do the swath of.
And then I have just one question. Camp Blanding's not here. This is adjacent. Did we hear anything from Camp Blanding on this?
No.
Was it sent to them for review?
They would see the signs as well that's posted, so. I can check and see if it was sent to them, but
Because I know they're supposed to weigh in on anything within that distance of the camp.
I have a question for
Okay.
staff
Yes.
about Camp Blanding. Do they receive the materials and notice of the availability the same as the commissioners do, their representative?
I'm not sure if, I would think they do, but I'm not sure, honestly. Because you're under a
I
different
wonder.
setup, you have your own
I
laptop.
especially
so-
wonder that they're not here.
Paul's not here, so I would think, like Paul gets it, I would think Camp Landing is getting it, so.
Paul's not here because we don't have any agenda items that involve school.
Correct, but he doesn't have a laptop, so he doesn't
Understand.
have that backdoor access to the agenda items that you do. So I would assume that Camp Landing has it as well.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? Applicant here, please.
Yeah, Colin Groff, Black Creek Engineering, 3900 Paso Fino Road. So just, I'm not going to cover, staff did a good job covering a lot of this, but a couple of things is one of the questions that I hear a lot is why are we doing a planned commercial development instead of just straight zoning? And the reason is the owners are actually going to relocate their businesses here. Their businesses are growing. They needed larger sites, so they're going to be relocating their businesses to a couple of these parcels. Of course, going through the site plan and all of that with them. And this is a way that they can control what, when they sell, it controls what uses go on the rest of those that are complementary to their businesses. The other reason we do it is because it does eliminate some of the categories that are in those zoning districts that would not be complementary to these businesses. So, so that's the first thing I want to say, because everybody always asks, why do you do this instead of just straight zoning? But that's generally the reason. It allows the owners to kind of control, what's going to affect their own businesses. And the second thing, I think staff covered this, is there's very few places in Clay County for larger sites that you can do more heavy commercial business. These are businesses, construction companies, wholesale companies, things like that, that need a little bit more room. They don't, necessarily need a lot of office space, but they need more room for their companies. So I think this is a good opportunity, good location for that. Again, the land use, like you said, it was that swath, so there is those two triangles. As you can see, we're using those for the common stormwater pond. So it really is to make sure it's all has the same land use and the same zoning over the whole piece, even though the stormwater ponds probably could be in the AR zoning with buffers and all of that, but it just, to me, it always makes sense just to make the parcel one so there's no confusion of where that line is. So anyways, any questions for us, I'd be glad to answer them.
The only, do you have one?
Yes.
Go ahead. You go first.
I just wondered if you had had any contact with Camp Landing.
So no, but we did review in my mind, you were asking the question and my mind went totally blank of what their plan is called. They have a standard plan for what they look at going around them. One of the things they do look at is they don't want the residential up next to them. Commercial, these types of commercials, actually, if you look at their recommended, they usually recommend if you're going to develop, that's what they want. Because for them, because of the noise and other activities. This is also on the southern end, so my bet is they wouldn't, but we don't have a way to get it to them. They did get noticed though, because they're an adjacent landowner, so they did get noticed.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. I couldn't remember the name of it. That's what
I'm
it's called.
sorry, what?
It's called the ACUB.
Yeah.
And yes, Blending does prefer commercial over residential. I know because I buy the land on base.
Yeah.
Is this where there's a public access to Camp Landing, to hike to Magnolia Lake and that area?
There is an access on tree.
Yes,
On
I
Tree,
think it's
okay.
off a tree, yes, off
Okay,
the
thank
road to the
you.
north, yes. And then again, the property is cut to by, actually, the front of the property and right through the middle of the property is those large 23 kV transmission lines. So that kind of cuts the property in half. So.
Thank you.
Any questions, applicant? Did you get the rights removed on that easement? Am I in the right park here?
So you're talking about the utility easement that cuts it in half? So that's an easement on the property. We do have the easement documents. We know what can be done. Really, it's a transmission easement, so you're not gonna build, you can cross underneath it. You could theoretically store things, but you have to keep it open underneath the easement in the way it's written in the document. So that goes with the land, so that's already there. So that protects that. But you can cross under it, which makes sense. We can't put a stormwater pond under it because they have to be able to access it and drive down. So.
Gotcha. Okay, well, thank you very much. So with that, I'll open the public comment period. Does anybody, I don't have any cards on this.
Helena Cormier, address on file. I just want to say how much I appreciate them doing it as the the PCD, and doing it that way so that it does restrict what businesses go in there and what isn't allowed, and how they're able to define that in there. It just makes sense for when we're developing and keeping a little bit of a tighter arm on the development that does go in there. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that has a comment? Seeing none, I will close the public comment period and bring it back to commission.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question. I think one of the applicants might be able to answer this. Those military requirements, because in here we have development will be guided by signage and lighting requirements that will prevent light trespass to the adjacent residential and military. And I know that's one of the big concerns with Camp Landing is dark sky. So I was just curious that clearly you're going to prevent light from interfering with the military base, but do they document how much they'll allow or anything like that in those plans? Does anybody know? Because our military guy is not here.
Right, and I wish
that's
he
why
was,
we're
because
asking.
these standards are very, to me, I've been an engineer for 40 years. I've been working with and around military bases. They still confuse me. So they do have some standards. The reason we wrote these light standards is because it zeroes down at the property line, so it would not affect them. Now that glare, I think you heard Kelly Hartwick talk about the glare.
Right.
That already happens. I don't think that I've never seen them. and again, I've worked on military bases and done designs on military bases. That's never really been an issue that I've seen. What they don't want is strobe lights pointing toward, like if you have aviation, you know, you don't want strobe lights pointing toward. There's some of those rules. And I'm being very vague because I am not the expert at the standards for military bases. But
I just know out there, they do a lot of night training out there, and they want the sky as dark as possible. So I just make that statement. I'm sure you guys will accommodate them.
yeah, the nice thing is that we're gonna leave the tree buffer along Treat Road, and then you've got Treat Road, and then they have a tree buffer, so.
They just don't want light up into the
Right.
air.
And these businesses, they're not, these are commercial businesses, so they're not doing the big, heavy stadium lighting. The way we wrote the lighting is very low.
Down lighting.
Down lighting for security only. So we're trying to keep it low profile.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You have input on this?
I do, actually, if I may.
Sure.
Josh Cockrell. I actually represent, I'll put on my other hat, the Clay County Development Authority. So I do grants for Camp Blanding. I'm actually texting Lieutenant Colonel, who's in charge of all the facilities out there. So staff, I don't know if y'all got the communication to Blanding or not, but something that I highly recommend you guys to be sure y'all be doing that, because I know you're supposed to have a representative here anyhow, but they were not aware, so that's a huge concern. As for commercial, they're okay with commercial. It's an industrial. Residential is a huge problem for them. There's a 3-mile 8-cub Army compatible use buffer that goes around the base, which we as CCDA have been purchasing land around both fee simple, not fee simple easements, property, et cetera, around the base to make it to prevent development encroachment, to keep the base from for future development such that will prevent the base from continuing their active mission itself. But that's fine. In talking about lighting, there's no issue there. The only thing that we need to be aware of, though, is they are working on building 2 huge live fire ranges right down the road from this site. So definitely no more residential in this area for that reason. So just keep that on your radar, and especially as you're looking at developments around the base. Commercial, industrial is okay. No more housing around the base at all. But make sure always a rep from Camp Blanding's here going forward when it has anything around the base within a 3-mile radius. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have a question.
Yep.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
understanding you to say that you have contact with the Camp Blanding folks, and they got notice of all of this from you,
They did just now.
but
I'm
that was
texting
the first
yes.
that they actually
Heard of this. Yes.
heard of it. So,
Which is not a good deal.
so I would just ask staff to please check into that. This is the first application I can remember in quite some time that has affected Camp Blanding, and I was surprised that the representative wasn't here. So I'm just thinking there might have been some sort of breakdown in communication, and it's just something I think that it doesn't hurt to go the extra mile and make sure that they have got a rep on board, who's getting the email, so
Certainly.
that we don't have problems.
And I
down the
think on
road.
your planning commission website, I thought it had some representative written on there, on your actual website, who the contact is. So I don't know. I know we've had some changeover in staff and such, and you guys have all been on here for quite a long time. So I don't know what got lost in communication, but we just need to make
It
sure.
concerns me. It concerned me when I read this.
Yeah, and
so-
I mean, you guys, going forward, just be sure that, if you're dealing with any property within 3 miles, and Mr. Puckhaber, I know you're commissioner, you're very astute and paying attention to detail. Within 3 miles of that base, we need to make sure Camp Blanding is present. So, thank you.
Thanks for letting them know.
They were
I-
contacted through the buffer.
I would
They're
like
on
to
that address
see-
list, so they were contacted. Yes.
Yeah.
So I know they've had change of hands, and the actual position that was supposed to come here has apparently gone away, so.
Questioning whether or not somebody from the county shouldn't contact this individual from the county perspective, let them know before the Board of County Commissioners reviews this. I don't want the Board of County Commissioners to be blindsided because all of a sudden Camp Blanding comes in and say, we didn't know.
We can do that.
Okay,
We can make sure there.
That is exactly my concern.
Yeah.
okay,
You ready for a motion?
I am.
I'm going to move the staff report on the land use portion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay,
I'm going to move the PCD portion per the staff recommendation as well.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I only have one, and I just want to reemphasize what Mary said, and I think you, is they're going to take this up on a week in the BCC, okay? So that gives them 1 week. I think I would say as well that two things. One, make sure whoever that rep is that's on this board from Camp Landing knows what's going on. And two, ask them to be present at the BCC meeting in case they have an issue that we didn't think of. That's all.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay. Thank you very much. Our list agenda item. What number is it, Dodie?
Last one is this one right here, the old number 2.
Goal number 2. Comp Plan 260001 and PUD 260002.
Where is Bill when you need him?
Okay, Dodie.
Sorry. So these two items will be heard by the Board of County Commissioners on May 12th. The applicant for the items is Josh Cockrell. The property involved is at 4640 County Road 218 in Middleburg, which is Commissioner Condon's District 4. Comp Plan 260001 would change the future land use designation for this parcel from rural residential to industrial. And then PUD 26002 would change the zoning from private services 1 to planned industrial development. So on the left, we have the signs that were posted, and on the right is the map of the parcels which received mailouts. And on the left is the aerial, and it's easier to see the site in yellow. Same site as on the parcel map on the right. These are the existing future land use on the left. The yellow is all rural residential. And then the proposed on the right, and that purple color is industrial. And this pair is the zoning maps. On the left, we have existing again with the PS1 in the sort of pale pink, and then on the right, the PID, which is the proposed change, is the sort of lavender color. This is the site plan that is included with the ordinances, the Exhibit B2. And you can see the parcel is an L shape that narrows down quite a bit along the neck before it expands at the back. So talk first about the use on the property. The use is existing and apparently has a long history in operation on the site. But it's a use that unfortunately isn't clearly defined in our code. So we have two close matches. We have heavy industrial IB zoning has manufacturing and recycling. It's a little bit of a mental gymnastics, but that's close to, because what the site is doing is taking vegetated material and chipping and mulching, and they're creating mulch. The land clearing debris offsite disposal facility, that term is defined in our code. And it's defined as rocks and soil and tree and vegetative matter that normally results from land clearing or development operations for a construction project. But then it goes on in the second sentence that says that this land clearing debris definition does not include yard waste or any other vegetative matter from lawn maintenance or commercial or residential landscape maintenance or right-of-way. So essentially, not this use. The facility is specifically defined as receiving yard cutting, right, from construction projects, not from all of these other sources. And my understanding, and the applicant, when they come up, the property owners can clarify that. But my understanding is that they get the source from many sources. So it's not strictly speaking a land clearing debris disposal facility by our definitions. So the proposed PID has listed a number of permitted uses. They have all of the uses in industrial select. They've included land debris disposal facility as a permitted use. I would point out that that is a conditional use in all of our other zoning districts. Then they've included three definitions: biomass processing and recovery facilities, value-added timber product manufacturing, and thermal conversion facility waste to energy processing. We do not have any of those definitions in our code. Or rather, we don't have definitions for any of those uses in our code. Let me rephrase that. And then they've included all the permitted uses found in light industrial IA district. And then under conditional uses are listed all the conditional uses and accessory uses and structures as are allowed in the light industrial IA district. So I'm going to kind of go back to the first zoning district and give you a little more idea of what's in those industrial select and light industrial districts. So industrial select is designed for locations where there's proximity to residential areas, which is well suited to this parcel because three sides of the property have residential zoning and uses surrounding them with the AR zoning. So it includes light industry with related offices and showrooms that do manufacturing, assembling, packaging, distribution of small unit products, corporate offices, commercial radio, and communication towers. And the conditional uses allowed are public assembly and a residential dwelling intended more or less for security on site. IA zoning district was intended for industrial light manufacturing wholesaling scale, some of which would be appropriate to the site, some may be not so much. It permits all the IS uses, and then includes this, the second bullet is a long list of different types of uses, so I won't read them all to you, but it includes things like the cabinet making and grinding shops and engine sale and service, fabrications, boat and yacht repairing, canning factories, mattress, metal workshops. And then the list continues for, there's textile and weaving mills, utilities, marine facilities, boat yards for construction and repair facilities, and dry storage, marinas and boat yards, incinerators that are accessory to one of the principal uses, the commercial radio, communication towers, and also warehouses with associated offices. For conditional uses, it adds to the IS uses auctions and also RV and boat storage. So when you look in our zoning code under PID zoning district, there's a section on speaks specifically to conditional uses. And it says that the application may request, and there's a list of following conditional uses in addition to the conditional uses that are listed in ISIA and IB, and those are subject to the conditional use section. That's that 3-5. And the first thing on the list is land clearing debris offsite disposal facility. Therefore, staff is of the opinion that it's inappropriate for it to be listed as a permitted use in the written statement, but is ideally listed as a conditional use. So in prior action on March 16th, the Middleburg Clay Hill CAC voted 6-0 to recommend approval of the comprehensive plan portion. And then on April 20th, the CAC voted 8-0 to recommend approval of PUD application. Staff finds that the criteria for the comprehensive plan amendment have been met and recommends approval of Comp 26-0001. Staff's recommendation, however, for PUD 26-0002 is that the written statement be amended to limit the permitted uses either to reflect the recycling use that's currently operating on the site or to permit those uses that are listed under IS zoning district, and to change the land clearing debris offsite disposal facility from a permitted use to a conditional use. And staff finds that the criteria for the rezoning have been met and recommends approval of PUD 26-002 with the changes noted above.
Do you have any questions of staff?
Just one. Sorry. The IA that's adjacent to this, does it have anything on it right now?
No.
It's just zone that?
It's just zone that, yes.
And then I'm always curious how we ended up with PS1. Anybody
I
know?
presume a church, because that's the principal
Yeah,
use is a church or a school.
Churches or daycares.
Yeah, so I presume it was a plan,
Some
someone
point.
had a plan and it didn't materialize.
I just had a question if I could, Mr. Chair. So in the previous presentations, we saw the surrounding area that was notified, and we saw a list of those notificationees. I don't know if I said that right. And the placement of the signs for the hearing. Do we have that for this?
Yeah.
Maybe I just missed it, Dodie. I apologize.
It's right up near the beginning. I didn't have a list of the individuals, but we have the map and we have the signage.
Okay. All right.
So,
Very good.
yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to see the list of individuals because then we're all covered that everybody's been notified. So it was nice to see that in the previous one, but
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Doug.
Adam.
Any other questions of staff?
Leave that there.
Applicant?
Older. I'm aging with all of you. Gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, good to see all of you. It's been a little while. Josh Cockrell, 200 North Laura Street. Pleasure to be with you today. I first and foremost want to thank staff. I know staff has been overwhelmed with lots and lots going on in this county, so I appreciate them getting this report to me. I know it was time pressed, so thank you guys for all that you are doing. It was a stretch there to get out the door, so thank you. I'm going to give you take a few minutes to give you a little bit of paint a little bit of picture about the company, tell a bit of history about it. It's been a while, quite a long time. Tell you about how we ended up here, and what we're asking for today. For more than 20 years, this property itself has been used as a biomass processing and recovery facility serving the public and private sectors. Gaston Tree Debris Recycling has contributed to this community by operating a closed-loop recycling system by diverting hundreds of thousands of tons of vegetative waste from local landfills, converting raw debris into sustainable products like mulch, soil, and biomass fuels. You're talking about what thus extends the lifespan of municipal landfills and reduces the community's overall carbon footprint. So we're talking about vegetative debris. We're talking about whether it's your tree cutters coming to your house, cutting your trees, hauling it off rather than putting it by the road and expecting taxpayers to pick it up or illegally dumping it. You're talking about Gaston being hired as one of the contractors in the county or this local cities during storm cleanup, for example, and cleaning up after our storms. And we have to take it somewhere. It goes to this site, believe it or not. And they've been here for over 20 years doing this for our county. Believe it or not, they were the first permitted yard in Florida at their Gainesville site. And now they're they're the largest, have the largest footprint in Florida and located in multiple cities throughout the entire state. So they're a big component of our community by providing this service and in saving our taxpayers' dollars. So vegetative debris is brought in by company trucks. Government as well participates. You got public and you got private as well, bringing debris in. to the facility. The debris is ground up into fuel for nearby biomass mills, or it's dyed for landscape mulch. Think of your mulch that you go to Home Depot, Lowe's, and you get that beautiful red mulch or whatnot. It gets dyed, but then it's taken off-site, it gets bagged up elsewhere. The place is not open for the Republic to use for retail purchase and so forth. It's just the processing component of it. The wood goes there. So it's interesting here, Doty present to you that a land clearing disposal facility, because it doesn't really fit that according to our definition, but it also doesn't fit the other definition she provided us. So recycling necessarily either. We're talking about renewables. We're talking about not necessarily recycling per se. It's reusing what we already have. We don't have a definition that fits this, but for some reason or other, we get looped into this land clearing debris. Doesn't make any sense, but of course, a lot of our code, Commissioner Puckhaber, as you know, doesn't make any sense. And I don't know when you're ever going to actually fix it. It's a good question because we've been asking about this for a long time. We may see it in our lifetime. You may see it. Who knows? Point is that here we are. So what got us here otherwise is, I'm going to touch on this real quick too. We provide rapid recovery for hurricanes, weather events, local staging and processing sites. So I mentioned all that. What got us here is back in the late fall, my client did the right thing. You guys know my personality. I'm probably one that instead of ask for permission, I'll ask for forgiveness later. They decided, you know what, they'll hire a company to put down a 10 by 20 foot building or shed on site to utilize. Well, the company pulled a permit. They pulled a permit, code enforcement got flagged, you're not zoned properly. So then they started getting cease and desist letters saying if you don't get zoned properly, we're going to shut you down. A company that's been a fabric of this community for 20 plus years getting threatened to have to go to magistrate, which you still have to face it coming up in June 4th, I think it is. Hopefully we can get this passed in time to not have to deal with it. But nonetheless, here we are, threatening with shutting a company down that's been a fabric of this community. They asked me to come in and take a look at this. So I met with Jenny back in January when she was still with us, Jenny Bryla. Jenny said, Josh, no problem. Let's rezone this to IA. This is a light industrial use. I was like, I would think so too. Can we classify it as light industrial? She said, yes. Based on what I see it as, it's a light industrial use. So I filed the application as IA. We went ahead and decided and did the land use change, filed that. We decided to go to DRC, and then during DRC, we got a round of questions that did not make any sense, and I laughed and scoffed at a lot of it because it really didn't make any sense. Why would have one ADA compliant pad on a gravel 17 acres to have one ADA compliant pad, and we have one employee, and that's it? And we're not going to hire certain, we have liability to hire certain people with disability potentially for operating heavy equipment machinery, but yet they're going to be stuck on this little asphalt pad and can't get off of it. Again, we comply, whatever, we'll check it off, we'll get it done, right? But it got brought up and said, and I remember talking here in staff saying, you know what, you should be IB, I'm like, okay, well, we'll file IB. So we refiled it. We reapplied to the application in for IB, made it to our first CCAC meeting. At the CAC meeting, we're there, land use looks great. Got to the zoning piece of it. IB, that's heavy industrial. What are you doing next to residential with heavy industrial? It's like, I can't disagree with you. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm just doing what staff suggested. It's the use in IB. There's also the use in agriculture, apparently, because we're apparently, according to them, a land clearing disposal facility, debris disposal facility. But they didn't recommend agriculture, even though there's agriculture right down the road. I think agriculture is 0.1 miles to the east of us, but they want us to go this route. So it doesn't make sense. They didn't like that. And so I went back to staff and I said, that doesn't make sense either for me. I wouldn't want heavy industrial next door to residential. So we went back and filed the PID. And in that PID, it addressed some of the challenges that we faced, which I did not want to go PID originally because I feel like IA was the appropriate zoning per staff originally for us to go. It's not a heavy industrial zoning, and downzoning to agriculture did not make any sense. We have IA adjacent to us right to the west that abuts us. So in going the PID route, what I did is I submitted the PID, including the same IA uses that we wanted to pursue in conventional zoning, the same IA uses that are afforded to our neighbor to the west of us. We want the same uses and rights that our neighbor has. It increases property values. It gives us the opportunity to grow and expand so we're not back before you and so forth. In doing so, we also addressed some of the complications in the site plan that I provided to you. There's some complications there in the IA and the zoning itself, where in the land use code, if staff can correct me if I'm wrong, says you can either do a masonry wall or X. And part of the challenges with that and having to address through some of these issues in the PID, which we're happy to do, rather than asking a variance of sorts, is we have, I mean, a masonry wall around 17 acres along the residential side. That's costly. It doesn't make any sense. During DRC, we talked about the fencing and doing something indifferent instead. You have to have 75 feet off or whatnot from residential. Well, we can't meet 75 feet when we already have 50 feet buffer, vegetative undisturbed buffer around the entire property. We have wetlands to the north of us and to the east of us. We have one resident that we haven't had any challenge or issues with. We have no complaints in the 20-plus year history, never had any fire issues, nothing. We're heavily regulated by DEP, who audits us monthly. So we don't have any challenge. We're just the quiet neighbor doing the right thing until this happened. Staff recommended putting in a 6-foot fence. Well, we have a 6-foot berm. Where do you want the fence? We want it on the property line in the woods. Well, who's going to see this? We have a vegetative buffer of 50 feet already. You want it in the woods on the property line around the residential area when our debris piles are 20 feet tall? That doesn't make any sense. Do we want business in this county, or do we want to encourage them to go elsewhere? We're trying to make this compliant for this. And so we came forth with what I thought was a compromise, and staff's been great about helping us with this and navigating this, is providing a site plan, providing the site plan to include 3 buildings on there, up to 7,500 square feet. These buildings would house our equipment and machinery, which we don't have buildings on the site now. It would also house our ability to, our dyeing the mulch and so forth, and also hire more people. We have 1 employee. We hope to have 10 employees on this site. They're high-wage jobs that continue to provide, continue to support the local economy and such. And let's see what else I wanted to add to you. But not only that, it's the request is consistent with the adjacent zoning to the west, whether it gets developed today or tomorrow. We have, like I said, Ag 2, 0.1 miles, 0.15 miles to the west or to the east. 0.1 miles to the east, and we have BA, matter of fact, 0.15 to the west of us on the same side of the road. So we come to you asking for your blessing. The uses that I included, again, are all IA uses. There are no IB uses that have been included except for asking for the permitted use of what we don't classify as staff noted. We can't even find a special classification for us because we're not defined as such in our zoning code. And I appreciate Dodie pointing that out. Some of these other things, value-added timber product manufacturing, that's just another word for saying we take wood, add value to it by recycling and turning into mulch. I mean, it's value-added timber manufacturing, if you will. Biomass process, that's taking the palm that we bring in, and the palm gets sent off and chipped down and gets sent off for fuel for our biomass facilities, because the palm oil obviously is a fuel. Thermal conversion and such. I mean, these are things that are still allowed. Some of the things that are allowed in the code as is. But we're looking for your blessing on this and have any questions you may have. I actually have Adam Smith with Gaston Tree Debris with us. He runs the plants throughout the facilities throughout the region, and can answer any questions you may have otherwise when it gets to technicalities.
Mr. Chair, I just have one. On the on the PID portion.
Yes, sir.
Do you have an issue with the staff recommendation? And if you want, Dodie can put it back up so you can see it. Can you do that?
The only issue I have is I would be supportive of this being a conditional use if all the uses of IA are included as permitted uses. But to pigeonhole us into a single use and labeling us as a land debris facility when staff made it clear that we don't fall in such necessarily is preposterous.
Okay, thank you. Question for Dodie. Dodie, can you just clarify that you wanted amended to limit the permitted uses to either the current uses or to the uses listed under IS, which is the select zoning, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, and then change. Can you talk about that recommendation a little bit, because it's IA right next door to them. That's
It is, and I totally understand that rationale. I get that. However, usually when you get a PID or a PCD, it's been not just the Planning Commission's desire, but the board's desire to have the uses limited to what's actually going to be utilized on the site. And and I get the applicant's point of view of, well, we don't, you know, we want to have options. But I've also heard from the board and from you over the years that, you know, we want to narrow this down. So in trying to find a way to narrow down, the current use really, like I said, the closest we can come really is recycling. It isn't really that either, but our code's a little bit silent on this particular use. Or, you know, the IS ones, which are, as I say, it fits the site maybe a little better in the sense that they're designed to be adjacent to residential. But I have to caveat that and say that there's a subsection to that list of uses that says it all has to be indoors. Well, this is a strictly outdoor use. So I get that it's one of those that's a little bit tough to fit. And so, you know, I do feel, you know, that if we're gonna have land clearing debris on there, it needs to be a conditional use. That's standard throughout our code, it has conditions. But if, you know, you feel like the IAs, some of those uses are perfectly fine, given that A, it's right next to them, you know, and some of those are outdoor uses, which this is an outdoor use.
Well,
I'm fine
I can tell, I don't know how many of you guys were here, but this whole thing about the land clearing, Beth, you might have been here when this whole thing with the land clearing came up. We were questioning what that meant. And at the time, you know, what the kind of the agreement was that land clearing debris off-site disposal was really like somebody's building a subdivision and they gotta temporarily put that stuff somewhere until it can be disposed of completely. This use sounds different to me than that. So.
We really should have a use that is this kind of use. We don't, we just don't.
We just don't have a definition.
Right, yeah.
Hang on a second.
Okay. That's why, because when you were around the offsite, I remember a whole discussion we had about that some years ago before you were here, because it popped up everywhere and people were getting afraid that they were going to get piles of debris in their neighborhoods and that kind of stuff. And we really, I don't know if we ever did anything formally, but the understanding was that was more of just, we need to put it somewhere till we can get rid of it. And that's not really what these guys are asking for, so that's why I wanted that clarification.
Mr. Cockle, you had a comment?
Mr. Chairman, yes. What I wanted to, back to Commissioner Puckhaber, and you pointed out something, and I want to go back to staff on this too. I understand staff stating that, you know, there's been that the thought of the board is sort of limiting the use of a PID to that specific use or whatnot. But in all respect, I just saw several PCDs with numerous uses, a commercial shopping center, commercial plaza with numerous uses, and Commissioner Puckhaber asking, you know, we don't know what tenants are even coming in there. The gentleman that presented doesn't know what tenants are going to come in right now, but yet he has a whole list of uses today that would be approved if it got approved today. We're asking for the same freedoms that and rights that a property owner next door to us has as well, which is a rational nexus that the next door neighbor has of theirs. We're asking for the same, they're not even developing yet.
And to Doty, can you clarify for me, if they did a straight IA zoning, what would they not be allowed to do that they're doing or want to do? I think that's what I'm trying to get to, because you, right, it's IA next door.
Right. I don't know.
So
I mean,
I guess the question.
What they're doing now.
Yeah.
Basically, are you asking, can they do that under IA, or
Well,
are you saying?
yeah, and I'm trying to figure out, you know, you've got IA next door. I don't see a reason it shouldn't be on this parcel, especially since the CAC out there seemed fine with it, and those guys that live out there, they know this has been going on for some time. So, I mean, I'm inclined to really support this whole request. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm kind of clear on what the ask is.
May I?
Yeah.
Through the chair, through Commissioner Puckhaber, when I spoke with Jenny and I asked Jenny how she reached the rationale of reaching this, she looked at, and maybe this, I love to think of, talk to you guys about your input on this, is she looked in IEA, there is a piece under here that says, fabrication of materials used in the building trades. So she was using that line to get us into IA because we are. I mean, when you build a house, Commissioner Bure, you put in trees, you put mulch around those trees. She looked at it as fabrication of materials used in the building trades. And maybe that zoning code needs to be extended to include fabrication materials used in building trades and landscaping. I don't know how you want to word that, but she found a nexus to connect it to that. And that's why we started with IA.
Okay, I think I'm done. I mean, I don't see any reason, honestly, not to support this. I'm trying to clarify for future use in my head what we've got here, I think.
Yeah, and I follow that.
Thank you, Chair. First, I needed to disclose that I did receive a phone call from Mr. Cockrell, and we did have a conversation on the phone about this item. I wanted to make sure I disclosed that. I had some questions, and he was gracious enough to answer some of those. With that being said, I didn't hear hours of operation. What are the hours of operation for this facility?
It's 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Okay. And are there any active incinerators as part of this process? Okay, all right, so it's mulching, chipping, exporting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I think that answers my question. Thank you.
And if I may add, Mr. Commissioner Bure, and part of our DRC, going to DRC early and being proactive instead of after the fact, we wanted to see what other issues may come up. And we did ask CCUA, is there any plans for future development along 218? Noting that there are wetlands around in the area and so forth. And what they shared with us is that the next 15 or 20 years, there's no plans to even put water and sewer. So I don't see any residential growth and so forth anytime soon. And they have no plans either. So I don't see any sort of constraint from a residential standpoint in this area.
All right, thank you.
Just to follow up, you're really not talking about doing anything different than you're currently doing?
That's
Is that
correct.
correct?
And that's
Yeah.
correct, Commissioner. And by coming to you guys now that we want to
Yeah.
do conventional zoning, by coming to PID, we figured, if we're going to do
Mm-hmm.
PID, let's go ahead and ask for the buildings to put our equipment in. If we're going to have to
Yeah.
do this now, might as well go this route or have to submit a site plan and ask for this as well.
Okay, thank you.
Some would define that as asking for permission instead of forgiveness, but
Not the Josh Cockrell way, doing it my
we all
client's way.
appreciate you doing that, so
Yeah,
thank you.
so, it's all started by a 10 by 20 foot small building being dropped there. So, it would have saved them a lot more money than going this route, I can assure you, had the building just been dropped. But here we are.
I have one.
Commissioner Angelone, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you too. Just a quick question. I was going to kind of ask a similar question as Mr. Bure did about the incineration. Can you explain a little bit more about what the thermal conversion is? Because to me, when I hear that, I hear heat, I hear generating something that could produce some kind of an effect with the environment. And I heard EPA before, or DEP, something like
Yes,
that.
yes, sir. if I
And I'm
may.
kind of concerned about that. So if you could explain that a little more.
I'll ask
what the
Adam
thermal conversion
Adam
is.
Smith to speak on that, but let me point out just for a standpoint before he speaks though, when you speak on incinerators are an allowed use under IA, a permitted use. So let's just make sure we all understand that.
I'm not objecting to any
Yes,
of
sir, I just
that.
wanna address it more.
I'm more concerned with the byproduct of what happens after.
Adam Smith, 2441 Hendricks Avenue. On the thermal conversion, you're looking at more like on the compost side. So when we chip up the material with DEP monitoring us, we've got to move the material in so many days. Usually it's about 6 months. Thermal conversion's where it's compacted in there, and the organics break down, it generates heat. So that's the answer there.
There's no off gases or anything like that that have to be, we need to be concerned about?
No. Just normal temperature probes go in and monitor that. That was one thing we need to clear with your fire department.
Okay, I'm good.
You're doing the same thing they're doing over there at Sleepy Hollow landfill or collection center, right? Where they dump all the debris there and turn it into mulch?
I'm not
Probably
familiar
you're
with
doing
Sleepy Hollow, but that's what we do. We pick up sticks,
Yeah.
grind them up, and make an end product.
They just take all that down the Rosemary.
No, they got a big pile of yard debris there. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I too also need to disclose that I had a discussion with Mr. Cockrell on this yesterday, I guess it was.
Yes, sir.
my feeling on this thing is, and I'm really torn on this. And one is, I agree with staff and what they're trying to say. The issue to me is, first off, the IA that you're right next to, it's undeveloped land. We don't know what it's going to be tomorrow. It might be AR, it might be a PUD for 5,000 homes. The issue as far as moving this into IA, that's more intense usage as far as industrial goes than the IS. And you're already surrounded on three sides by residential. Now, when the residential gets more, voluminous out there, then that could be an issue with some of the issues, with some of the uses that are in IA as opposed to in IS. And the last piece is the land clearing is not a permitted use, it's a conditional use. And that's the way it's stated in our regulations. And we can't take it out of that unless we take some action in order to formally move it into the category as a permitted use. If we don't do that, then we're opening the county up for all kinds of problems on down the road. Some could be in the legal standpoint when we deny somebody a conditional use that they're claiming, well, you gave it to Mr. Cockrell, so why can't me? Why can't I? So we're kind of between a rock and a hard place on this thing as far as that goes. Now, you're agreeable to moving it as a conditional use, but only under IA. But I have a problem with IA because of your proximity to the residential piece, coupled with the fact that the IA piece is undeveloped land. We don't know what it's going to be unless you own it and you plan on doing something with it.
May I address your concerns?
Help yourself.
So, well, yes, we don't, the IA is undeveloped does not mean that tomorrow even, or even a year from now, that IA cannot be developed as is under conventional zoning, as is, and does not have to go before this board to do so under current restrictions, regulations of the code itself. So you may never hear from the IA, and they may develop as such as IA. Could they come back for a rezoning? Sure. You may or may not, as a board, may still be here. I don't know. We don't know. We can only speculate. But the thing is, they still today have the rights and privileges to develop as IA, as stated. As for your land clearing disposal statement you made, again, I'm going to go back to what staff stated today on the record, is that the code is silent on the use that we're using. And your fellow commissioners had brought up the same point, is that we aren't labeling ourselves as land clearing disposal facility. This is what staff has thrown us in, because there's nothing else that we even come close to. So we would argue we're not even a land clearing disposal facility based on staff's testimony today. So I would have a hard time even wanting to accept a condition of such, and I'm only willing to do so just in order to say, hey, I'm willing to give a little in order to get the IA that we've requested to begin with, even though we're not a land clearing disposal facility. I was just told by staff that, well, we have to put you there. So even then, we're not even that. This code is silent, and at that point in time, this is where a decision has to be made based either through the BCC to decide, and I look to Courtney and our attorney on how the county addresses a matter when the code is silent. And I don't know how often these matters come forth when the code is silent.
I understand what you're saying, but the problem remains, and it's kind of like I said, it's between a rock and a hard place here because we don't have something that describes what you're doing identified in our code. Now, are we trying to stretch this balloon over a 55-gallon drum of oil to make it fit? I don't know, and I don't know what the down the road issues are. Should we approach this from the standpoint we need to create a code for this particular process so that we've got our bases covered? What kind of liability are we opening ourselves up here, Ms. Graham?
So our code definitely has some inconsistencies. In one spot, it says you go with the most similar use. In the other spot, it says if you don't have this use, you can't do it. You just can't do the use. So the beauty of the PID, the PCD, and the PUD is that you can create a unique zoning district. You write it yourself. So I would say the way this board and the Board of County Commissioners has applied those flexible plan districts is you have really used it to cater to one development. That it's one use, not the broad expanse of use. If he wanted all these other uses, he could come back and rezone as IA, IS, whatever. I think at one point this was also talked about as recycling, which was under our IB. And Dodie, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think IB was the original suggestion, which that would be very heavy. So the beauty of the PID would be, this is a unique use. It's not anywhere in our code. I would think it should be defined as in, it's chewing up the wood, it's creating mulch, it's storing it, it's shipping it, describe the entire process. That is your PID use for this parcel. It's not going to exist anywhere else in the county, but it's that use, and it's defined by buffers, setbacks, whatever, for that parcel. So, but perhaps not have any other uses, just this. Questions on?
None from me. Okay,
You don't have a public hearing yet.
I know. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Cockle. And let me open the public hearing on this, and we don't have anybody here except our one star.
Helena Cormier, address on file. This one is confusing, and the analogy of the rock and a hard place is, interesting. And y'all have a lot of good questions on what are we opening ourselves up to, and, trying to, hearing some of the comments about having to go to court over this and getting red flagged over a shed or something. It's interesting because now we're trying to make something to let this fit. And it's complicated. And so that's like, as I'm sitting back just listening, it's interesting, but yet, difficult. So we realize as residents, y'all are put in hard spaces. And so are, the county commissioners, and so is the staff, and so are the business owners that have been here for 20 years. And so hats off to y'all. I will continue, as I've said, to keep y'all in my prayers as y'all are making these decisions and how y'all figure this one out, because we have seen so many times the cause and effect and not quite knowing how all that works. So thank you.
Okay, there's nobody else, so I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to commission for a discussion and a recommendation.
Does language need to be changed?
It sounds to me like staff's already addressed the change in the amendment that they offered. Am I incorrect in that?
If I get a piece of it out of the way, I'm gonna move the comp plan portion of this,
I'll
because
second that.
that's fine.
Yeah, no, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move the comp plan portion of this. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign.
Okay, now ask your question.
Okay. Now, back to the PUD side. You were saying, Commissioner?
Well, the question really, I just want to confirm that staff, and maybe you could just read that aloud if you don't mind, the modification for the PUD, the verbiage, which you had in your presentation.
Sure. So to amend the permitted uses to recycling use currently operating on the parcel, or to those permitted uses listed under the IS zoning district, and to change the land clearing debris offsite disposal facility from a permitted use to a conditional use.
And does that address the applicant's use of the property and the concern raised by the commission?
Well, I would say the applicant is not, technically, the applicant is not a land clearing debris disposal facility, based on the definition we have in the code. So I don't think wouldn't affect whether it was in the list of uses or not. It wouldn't affect his operation on the property. You could either leave it off or have it there, but have it as a conditional use, so we're consistent throughout the code. And then this was tough because I don't have a use to easily point to that's certainly not that's in IS, right now. Because as I say, those are all interior uses, indoor uses. The closest thing we have is recycling, or the manufacturing and recycling combination.
So I guess
I don't
my
know.
question is this the best fit in language for the situation we have right now?
I think it is in the sense that, it is a PID, so you are creating your own buffers. And this site needs that because it is very narrow. To try to do this under IA, which we looked at earlier, before we brought this to you as a PID, there was like a 75-foot required buffer. Where that parcel narrows down, it just simply wouldn't function. They'd have lost usability of that area. So as a PID, they go to 50 feet and, with a buffer, and now they have a usable area to provide both the road and the stacking of material that they need.
Okay, so I guess my thought, and thank you, Jody, for that. My thought to the commission would be, we've got a business that's been in business here for 20 years here in Clay County. If the code is silent as to their specific usage, but we have a fit for it, maybe a little stretch, but we have a fit for it that works. I think we as a commission rely very heavily on staff and your knowledge. You are professionals and know what works and what doesn't work. And therefore, I'm gonna support the staff's recommendations on this. I appreciate you answering my questions. Thank you.
I think, Mr. Beret, we got it. If you read the recommendation, it's an or. Change it to just the uses that they currently have today, or to those permitted uses under the IS zoning, and then change the debris facility to a conditional use.
Which is more compatible to the code, according to what we were.
Well, and then there's a flaw in that logic, as
Mhm.
I looked at this right before the meeting and saw that, or, because if they go with, or rather, if you go with or, and only go with the IS,
They can't
it
do
is
this.
not do that, yeah, he can't do it. So we need to define either it's recycling and he adds that as a reuse, or we define him as, the material, fabrication of building trades material, a piece, which we have listed elsewhere in the code, but put that as the principal use, or Beth.
I would tell you, I would tell my up here, I'd be inclined to support the IA because the parcel next to it's IA, whether it's developed or not, is not relevant. It's IA. Somebody come in with the right building permits and build on it. So I think anything that's in IA would be permitted. In fact, I know you're dealing with staff, but it seems like IA would have just been the way to go with this and clarify that whatever you're doing fits.
It's the route we went originally and would have made this a lot easier.
I think the point is that, at least I know some of us, we're in agreement. We don't want to stop this. We want this to go through. We just want it to work in the code somehow, and that's what we got to figure out.
Thank you. And we just want the same rights as our neighbors as well.
And I will tell you that I put a fair amount of weight in what the CACs say. And that CAC out there voted unanimously to no problem. And they live out there, which tells me they don't have any problem with this facility the way it's currently operating. So I think we're in the position of trying to figure out how to just push this through and let them keep doing
Well, I
what they're
think
doing.
part of staff's concern is, if I may borrow some of their language, is whether or not some of the uses in the IA zoning are compatible with the residential piece of it.
And if I
If we
may,
can rationalize that, then we're making a step forward.
So Beth and I just kind of consulted, and in reference to what I had listed here as recycling or the permitted I under IS, I think I'd like to amend that and change that, because as she pointed out, it really isn't recycling either. But we can support the, the fabrication of materials used in the building trades as since it's already in our code in an industrial district, and reasonably fits as a similar use to list that as the principal use on the site, I think is a reasonable.
Is that an IB though, or,
It's an IB now.
so,
Could have done conventional.
No, it's an IA, I'm sorry, it's in IA.
IA?
Yeah, I apologize. But,
then, okay.
yeah.
That works for both sides.
Yeah,
Right, Mr. Cockrell?
I think we just do IA.
I'm beside myself. I apologize, commissioners. We did this IA and filed it originally in January's IA and addressing the setbacks that were brought up in the land
Well,
code.
you got to understand, Mr. Cockrell, we're in the business right now of creating.
I
What I
get
mean
it.
by that is, we don't have anything to match your functions in our code, so we're trying to finagle that
We just got
so
rid of
that you can
the,
do what you do best, and yet we do what we do best and we stay out of trouble.
I understand, Mr. Chairman, and so we had a good planner here that was guiding me down a good
I
path,
I
and here
don't
we are.
understand, but
And my
we
client
need
spent
to.
lots of money on this already, more money than he should
I
have
hear
to
what
get
you're
the same
saying,
result we
but
had in
we're
January.
trying to pick up the marbles and move
So
on.
I'm-
So I think the consensus is we can go with an IA if you can put that in as a conditional use.
So, again, that's the case, Mr. Chairman, I stand behind my original submittal that I have currently before you, which is, again, all the IA uses as permitted uses, and which that use is also submitted as a permitted use. So I stand behind my current application that's before you right now today.
Could, Mr. Chair, I think I'm okay with that because I'd be okay with IA, so he gets the IA uses, but we get better buffers.
Yes.
And that's what's important with that residential piece. We get those bigger buffers, so.
And if I may, to the north of it, as you begin the residential, we also are concerned about residential as well and how it may impact. To the north of us, you look at the plan I provided you, to the north of us, we're surrounded by wetlands. I mean, you can't access the back half of that residential parcels because it's divided up by wetlands. You're not gonna get over those wetlands. And if you're in the development.
That's understand.
You're not gonna
That's
get
understandable.
wetland credits. I mean, it's just not getting developed. So the only neighbors that really get impacted are the ones that we're adjacent to right to the east. And if I may, they're not even here. And if they were, they'd be concerned.
Then
Okay.
I think, are you ready for a motion?
I think we're ready.
I'd like to hear, make sure that
Yeah.
staff's okay. I mean, I appreciate the applicant's okay, but I'd like to know, is staff okay with what we're talking about?
Well, I think I heard that, that IA is probably the beneficial option here, is it? Isn't that what you said?
Yes, but I'd like to ask the applicant one clarifying question.
Yes, Ms. Doty.
For the land debris do you want that in here?
What is the limit of time in which vegetated debris is to sit on a site? Because some of our debris may sit there for 3 months. It could be, I don't know, what's the length of time?
There's
6 months before it's mulched down, because it depends on how the storm season is. During those hurricane months, it can be crazy. So there's not a length of time. Interesting.
No. That
So,
I'm aware of.
Do we need that? Are we disposable?
We've seen some debris sitting in places
I
for
would say leave
years.
it for now, just in case. Yeah, I hate for code enforcement to come out and flag us and say, well,
Then, but are you then allowed, are you?
we will leave that as a
okay
conditional
as a
use.
conditional
Yes, ma'am,
use?
absolutely.
Okey dokey, that's what
I
I
put it as a
wanted to know.
permitted use because that's what we're being labeled as, and I'm like, well, that's the one thing we need permission for, apparently, so
well,
conditional
no.
use is fine, yes.
All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna move the staff report, but I need a clarification on what that is right
Yes.
now, so we can make sure we get that right.
Right, so staff's amended motion,
Okay.
a recommendation going forward, is that the permitted uses be those of IA, that the land debris, land clearing debris off-site disposal facility be added as a conditional use to the PID?
Do we need to add any uses that they're currently doing that aren't covered under IA?
No, because the IA includes that fabrication of materials for building trades.
Okay.
And we can
Agreed on.
We're
agree that
okay
that
with
would
that.
cover his current use.
All right, I'm gonna move that, what she just said. Did you get that all, Christine?
I'll have to listen to it again.
Will this be revised before it goes to the board so that
Yes,
Mr. Cockrell doesn't have to go through this scenario all over again?
yes, the written statement will be revised.
Okay, I'm sure he'll be very
For the
appreciative of
ordinance.
that.
In that case, I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion and a seconded. Any further discussion? Is everybody happy?
Sir, I'm happy as a clam.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you, Mr. Coggle. Happy mulching.
Every time you buy the red mulch at Home Depot, when you start to do your flowers this spring, you're gonna think of us.
The red mulch, I'm colorblind, but I'm being told by my color-prone person and lives with me, my wife, you can't put that around the house because it conflicts with our red brick. So you gotta come out and match it with a red brick, and then I might be able to do it.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Pick a color.
Pick a color. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, I'm gonna open the last public hearing, and does anybody have anything to say?
Just one more time, again, Helena Cormier, address on file. When I had spoke earlier about doing the continuation, it wasn't to stop them from not being able to speak. It was more of, y'all could deny the continuation until they come prepared and they don't have to keep doing this. One of the things that when these residents come out, they know that it's supposed to be on the schedule, they get the notices, and then they find out at whatever time that it's being pushed to another meeting and being pushed out. Some of these people have to take time off to come to these meetings and do the different things, and then they don't know if they're gonna get to come to the other one and actually voice, and so it just gets so complicated. And so when the businesses aren't ready and don't have all their ducks in a row, letting them do it properly is very helpful. And again, on this past one, that was, I know that's a blessing for them, difficult on different things. Just the reminder that we've seen, when they do get those zonings for the different heavy one, the CAC did not want that because they didn't want the heavy industrial on a different company. And when they get the entitlements, that is what becomes so valuable. And when you've got a piece of land that's been there for 20 years, if they now have buildings and they have this zoning, can they resell it? And what does that open us up to? And so we do have to be mindful of, cause and effect and how that does work in the long scheme of stuff. And I think that was it. The PCD, that was the other one. The PCD on the Turmeric Kitchen. Please be mindful of when we have the conditional uses, when the PCD comes in there, we can limit those conditional uses and they don't have to give the permission. And so you've got an indoor thing that they're wanting to do, indoors and games and this and that. And then you've got the medical marijuana and you've got the alcohol and you've got the different things that the businesses can come in there. You won't know, and with the occupancy, and it may not ever come before y'all. But when we limit those conditional uses, we stop a business or, that possibility of it happening. And so it is beneficial in the PCDs. Thank you.
All right, I feel I must respond. In respect to notifying the public, the applicant goes through a lot of effort to present a product that's acceptable not only to the county but to the public. And if they don't have that acceptance level, they're spending a lot of money to do this. Not just the money that the county is asking for, but for their planners, their attorneys, and the list goes on and on. So we like to be a little bit leaning towards the applicant on some of these issues because we want them to present a product that is acceptable to the public as well as to the county, and not just come in here and then be rejected and then have to go out and spend more money to accomplish what they want to do. My recommendation is they find somebody that has access to computers so they can read these things before they come to the meeting and know. And with that, any other comments or new business items?
I just have one comment if I could, Mr. Chair. I want to thank staff. Staff is working very hard, and as I understand it, maybe understaffed a little bit, and they're doing an excellent job carrying the weight and answering our questions and being prepared for these meetings. So I just want to take a minute, lift staff up for all your hard work. Thank you.
I agree.
Okay, our next meeting is June the 2nd. Am I right? Or did we change that too? Okay.
We won't do this to you ever again. We'll make sure that you
I don't mind. It's just, it's.
We'll try not to.
Flexibility is the name of the game. So, all right, meeting's adjourned.